Do we need resellers in 2025? I think we still do. Hello, my name is Brett. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about why I think resellers are still important in 2025 and why we'll still see them going forward. The first thought that usually comes to mind when you think about resellers is usually the people right now that are running out to Costco and they're ripping apart those Pokemon pallets trying to get those cards so that they can flip them. That's the first thought that I would have. Those aren't necessarily, I would say, good resellers. Those are scalpers. They're making it more difficult for the consumers to get the product. There has been a lot of questions brought up lately of whether or not it is morally okay to be a reseller and if it's even smart for the economy to have them. With social media kind of exposing the bad side of the reseller world with these scalpers running out to retail stores and just ripping the products off the shelves, it's put a really bad taste in the general consumer's mouth, and they just don't feel like it's worth the stress, the time, and even sometimes the money now to try and collect these collectibles that people just want to have around their house. I want to dive in and explain why I think resellers are not only just important to consumers, but also important to corporation companies as well. Let's start with the consumers. Let's start with why I think consumers need resellers. First off, a lot of the times product is really hard to come across and find. If you go into a modern video game store like GameStop, Best Buy, Walmart, a lot of these places only carry modern games or generally one generation prior. Specifically more in Canada. I know in the States, GameStops, I believe all of them, maybe just some, they do have retro sections. But for Canada specifically, we just carry modern games in our retail spaces, so it makes it really difficult to get retro games, which has created a really healthy market for mom and pop video game stores to pop up everywhere, and they do really, really well. There's a huge demand for them, and we need them. I know you can go on Amazon and order these games, but usually you have to pay a premium to get it shipped straight to your front doorstep. It's easy, but that comes at an extra cost. If consumers don't have resellers and they don't have a physical storefront to go to or an eBay store to go to, or let's say I've seen sites like Poshmark, there's a lot, Whatnot is another big one now. If we don't have resellers using those apps and websites to sell product outside of the main stores, we won't have great competition, and we really need competition. As much as it looks really bad when you go on eBay and let's say there's a $200 game and people have it listed for $300, $350, and it is a little bit demoralizing, and it's demotivating really to look at that stuff and be like, well, there's just no point in even maybe desiring the product anymore, or it just takes all the fun out of possibly hunting for the product. That's where you'll see a lot of good and bad with reselling. You're always going to have bad resellers where they're usually above market value, not even at market, but above it, and they don't care. They charge premiums. Some of these people, they do refurbishing or they do cleaning, testing, authentication, verification of these products, which I guess maybe adds a little bit of value. I don't believe it adds a premium value. I do think it adds some value. With those people asking those prices, you're always going to have the opposite side where someone's going to come in and offer a great deal or a good deal. So if it's a $200 game, they might come in and try to sell it for $150 or $120. I'm sure right now you could think of in your local town or city of one store, thrift store, retail store, mom and pop store that is extremely expensive. Everybody knows it's expensive and people might still go there, but they might not and just avoid it. And then on the opposite flip side of that, you're always going to know of one store in your town or city that is really good and you generally find good deals at, and you go there all the time. And that is honestly good and healthy. I don't think there's anything wrong with having storefronts that are just a little bit too expensive, because they also still are offering value. I know a lot of people, like when I walk into a store, me and my dad, we do a lot of complaining, okay, about prices and blah, blah, blah. We go to a lot of stores though. We see a lot of different items that are honestly the same items, but with just different pricing. And it could be from one town to the next. And one town might have it for like $30 more, and then the next one has it for $20 less. It's pricing is kind of arbitrary. Consumers need resellers as well. If you just simply look on the Facebook marketplace, if you took away all of the resellers and store owners that are listing on the Facebook marketplace, the ads would drop off exponentially. I'm not saying that they would stop altogether, but they definitely would hurt, and you wouldn't see as much product being listed day to day. That's the big one, is when you have people that are, let's say, just selling off their collection, or they want to sell off a piece or two to buy into something different. That doesn't happen very often. A lot of people might do that like once a quarter in a year, or maybe once every year. They do a little downsize of their collection. So without resellers listing every day on the marketplace and on eBay and stuff, you're not going to have a lot of products circulating in the economy, and that kind of bottlenecks people. That could cause prices to kind of go up, and it creates a bit of a monopoly, because if it's just, let's say, Amazon selling video games and there's no GameStops or no Best Buys or Walmarts that are selling them, Amazon could start charging premiums because they have a monopoly on the product and the business, and they kind of get to say and do as they please because there's no one else to say, hey, wait a minute, I can charge an extra $10 less and then steal all your business. So without competition, we end up hurting worse in the long run. We really, really do need competition. Now, why do corporations need resellers? For the reason of Costco selling out of their Pokemon boxes that they bring out of pallets of. Personally, let's be honest, if there wasn't a hype online and the social media wasn't hyping up these products, people would not be lining up. Even resellers, if they knew there wasn't, let's say, $40 to be made on a box, they're not going to buy them. So it's a big give and take. People think it's disgusting, and it is pretty gross to watch like 40 people run up to a pallet and like destroy it and rip it apart just for some cards. But then on the flip side, those cards have value, and they should have value going in the future because of their rarity, as long as they're not over manufactured, blah, blah, blah. There's there's a lot of variables to take into account about what does bring value up and what doesn't bring it up. But the biggest one is manufacturing. If they're not going to be manufacturing a ton of these cards, then they are rare, they are desired, they're going to be more desired, and that makes it better for the consumers. I know, as much as it sucks. Like a great example, aside from Pokemon cards, Lego. The collectible minifigure series, right now I'm trying to collect them. There's one figure I'm trying to get. He's the rarest figure of the series, the Beastmaster Wolfpack figure. And I just can't find him. You know, it's kind of annoying, it is frustrating, but if he wasn't rare, like, what's the point then? To be honest, I mean, you know, why do people buy loot boxes? Why do people buy lottery tickets? It's because we like the fact of knowing that there's a chance of winning, but not 100% win pull-through rate every single time. Corporations really do need resellers as well, because they continue to buy year-round and usually every single day. So a great one is thrift stores. If resellers like me weren't going into thrift stores every single day of the week to buy up items, then they would have a lot of slow times and down times. Their sales would completely plummet, especially in times like right now with Canada being in the dead of winter from January to March. Sales do drop, and especially with seasonal products. So right now we're slowly making our way out of winter, so all winter product should be coming down in price and dropping because less and less people are going to need it as the season's moving away. With that happening, you're going to have a lot of winter product sitting around, undesired, unsold, and less profits. That's where resellers come in and buy the product up because there's profit margins for them. Maybe they're keeping it for a season or two. Whatever the answer may be, they're coming in and buying product that consumers are not buying. Another good example is clothing. Is anybody really buying winter jackets during the summertime? No. But resellers will. If they're at the right price, they'll come in and swoop up the whole rack. And that's what, honestly, companies do need. Another thing that some people do believe, not all, but that resellers do save product. So, for example, a lot of this clothing, with the thrift stores, they have contracts and deals where they ship out the unsold product to third world countries, which is a great way to keep that the product is still being used, or at least going to some kind of use instead of a landfill. But usually product just hits the landfill. And if resellers aren't buying up product storing it in their storages, stores, houses, whatever. A lot of this time, this product is still getting dumped, unfortunately, and thrown in the garbage. So there is a thought there where some people believe that resellers are kind of coming in and saving product, saving the environment a little bit, especially when you think of resellers that are refurbishers. So there's people out there who, specifically with video games, they just buy broken consoles all day long. These guys are like maybe engineers, whatever, maybe they just like to do some soldering and some modding and stuff, and they just fix these consoles up. They buy them for cheap, fix them up, refurbish them, flip them, and honestly, like every single time they fix a console, that's one less console that goes to landfill. So in that thought process, that's a really good thing. That right there is probably the biggest bonus and benefit to being a reseller. Another example that reselling helps in the world when it comes to buying odds and ends products. Like for me, I go in, I'll go through the wires section and I buy up like all the video game wires, if they're power cords, AV cables, sensor bars, all those accessory pieces, I buy them up. I've been hoarding them. And every time I buy a console and they're like bare bones, they have no cords, no controllers, no nothing, I've been able to pair up all these cords I have that are extra with these consoles. The general consumer is not always going to be doing that. You know, they're not going to buy 10 Wiis. A consumer is going to buy one Wii, they're going to complete it, and then they're going to be done. So someone like me, at least I can keep buying this stuff that's sitting on the shelves and then actually pair it with stuff that's going to get used. Because let's be honest, you find an AV cable for a Wii console, if it sits on the shelf for 4 weeks, it's probably getting tossed. It is what it is. I think one thing that makes resellers look worse than what they actually are is social media. There's a lot of people now making videos like I have within the last 7 months, or even just post-COVID. A lot of people have joined these websites. People who had stores prior but didn't have social media sites are now doing videos to show off what they do as a reseller, maybe try to get the channel monetized to also make more money. There's a lot more readily available information out there now on this reselling stuff in the world, and I think it's harder now to hide the people that are bad resellers or have a bad personality. Let's be real, it is hard to hide on a camera. If you're a bad person and you just have maybe a mean personality, sarcastic, whatever, it's extremely hard to hide that on camera and fake it on video. And I think that's something that people are seeing now, especially people that are more public about their stores, their eBay stores. They have no problem sharing it publicly. You can go right through their feedback and you can just examine their whole store, their whole business, and see if they are a good reseller or a bad reseller. And ultimately, it is up to you and your own opinion on what you believe on that matter. You guys let me know down below. Do we need resellers for consumers? Do we need resellers for corporations? Or eventually, can we just exile resellers and start doing this direct to consumer branding? A lot of people now are making up their own websites for the company and selling their product directly to the consumer. For example, Jeffree Star. You may have never heard of this guy. He sells makeup for a living and he has his own website. He runs the company and he ships all the product doing release drops on his website, and they go straight to consumers. Now, resellers do come in during these drops and still try to snipe the product and flip it, but being that the website is directly to the consumers and you don't have to go into a store, or you're not even going on Amazon and having a fulfillment company do it for you, it has chopped away a lot of the retail arbitrage that is happening. It still happens, but it's harder for people, especially when you can put a limit of, let's say, 2 orders per account or whatever. It slows down that retail arbitrage process. That's gonna be it for this video, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.